The night was completely dark with thick clouds covering the moon as Ho-Jin Kim and his SEAL team prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. The alien ship still floated silently above the Pacific Ocean like a giant metal beast waiting to devour the world below. In the USS Titan submarine bay, the four SEALs checked their equipment one final time. They wore black wetsuits that would make them invisible in the dark water. Their weapons were specially modified to be completely silent. They carried enough explosives to blow up a small building, but their real weapons were their training and determination. Corporal Tae-hyun Park, the team's technical expert, had spent hours studying the alien ship through powerful telescopes. He had identified what appeared to be maintenance hatches on the bottom of the vessel. The aliens probably thought no one could reach them since the ship floated high above the water, but the aliens had not counted on human creativity and the advanced technology of Navy SEALs. The team would use underwater propulsion vehicles to approach the ship from below. Then they would use magnetic climbing equipment to scale the smooth hull of the alien vessel. Captain Jin-Woo Park and Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee watched as the SEAL team made their final preparations. The entire crew of the aircraft carrier knew what was happening. Many sailors had volunteered to join the mission, but only the most elite soldiers had the training necessary for this kind of infiltration. Ho-Jin looked at his teammates one last time before they entered the water. Min-ho Choi was calm and focused as always. He had disarmed bombs while being shot at by enemy soldiers. Sung-Jin Lee was checking his sniper rifle. Even though they hoped to avoid a firefight, Tae-hyun Park was reviewing the technical data about alien systems. Remember the mission, Ho-Jin said quietly. We get inside, gather intelligence about their capabilities, and if possible neutralize the threat. We are not trying to be heroes. We are trying to save humanity. The four men slipped into the dark water without making a sound. Their underwater vehicles were nearly silent as they moved through the ocean toward the massive alien ship. The water was cold, but their training had prepared them for much worse conditions. As they approached the alien vessel, they could see strange lights glowing from various parts of the ship. The hull was made of some kind of metal that seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to see details even up close, but Tae-hyun had been right about the maintenance hatches. The team attached their magnetic climbing equipment to the hull and began scaling the smooth surface of the alien ship. It was like climbing the side of a skyscraper, except this skyscraper could fly through space and destroy cities with energy weapons. Soo-jin felt his heart beating fast, but his hands were steady. This was what he had trained for his entire adult life, getting into places where he was not supposed to be and completing missions that everyone else thought were impossible. Tae-hyun used his technical equipment to interface with the alien hatch. The technology was completely different from anything humans had ever seen, but the basic principles were the same. Electronic locks could be bypassed if you knew what you were doing. After 20 minutes of careful work, the hatch opened with a soft hiss. The four SEALs climbed inside the alien ship and found themselves in a maintenance corridor that was much larger than human ships required. Everything was built for creatures much taller and wider than people. The corridors were dimly lit with purple light that made everything look strange and alien. The walls were covered with symbols and writing that no human could read. The air smelled different, like metal and ozone and something else they could not identify. Ho-Jin used hand signals to communicate with his team. They needed to stay completely silent while they explored the ship. Any sound could alert the aliens to their presence. The team moved through the corridors like shadows, using their training to remain invisible. As they explored deeper into the ship, they began to understand the alien technology better. Everything was controlled by central computer systems. The ship had artificial gravity that made walking feel normal. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of smart metal that could change shape. Sung-Jin discovered what appeared to be a computer terminal and motioned for Tae-hyun to examine it. The technical expert connected his equipment to the alien system and began downloading information. It was incredibly risky, but they needed to understand what they were fighting. The data that Tae-hyun retrieved was shocking. The alien force was much smaller than anyone on Earth had imagined. Commander Roth had brought only one ship with about 2,000 soldiers. This was not a massive invasion fleet. It was a psychological warfare operation. The aliens had conquered dozens of other worlds using the same tactics. show up with one impressive ship, make demands, and wait for the local population to surrender out of fear. Most species gave up immediately when they saw the advanced technology, but the SEALs also discovered something else. The aliens had never faced serious resistance before. Every world they had conquered had either surrendered immediately or been defeated quickly by superior firepower they had no experience fighting an enemy that used guerrilla tactics. Shojun studied the ship layouts that Taehyun had downloaded. The alien vessel was impressive, but it had obvious weaknesses. The central computer system controlled everything, including life support, weapons, and navigation. If they could reach the main computer core, they could disable the entire ship. The team also learned about alien weapons and armor. The energy weapons were powerful but required significant recharge time between shots. The armor looked intimidating but had vulnerable joints and power connections. A well-placed shot could disable an alien soldier. Minho examined the ship's structure and identified key systems that could be destroyed with his explosives. The aliens had built their ship to be impressive and intimidating, but not necessarily to withstand internal sabotage. They had never considered that enemies might get inside. As they moved through the ship, the SEALs began to realize that despite their advanced technology, the aliens were overconfident and unprepared for real warfare. They had relied on fear and superior firepower for so long that they had forgotten how to actually fight. The team reached a large chamber filled with holographic displays showing Earth from orbit. They could see other alien ships hidden behind the moon and near other planets. But these ships appeared to be support vessels, not combat ships. The main fighting force was right here on this one vessel. Taehyun downloaded more data while the others kept watch. The information revealed the aliens' entire battle plan. If Earth surrendered, they would strip the planet of resources and take half the population as slaves. If Earth resisted, they would destroy major cities until humans gave up. But the aliens had not prepared for the possibility that humans might fight back effectively. They assumed that any resistance would be conventional warfare, which their superior technology could easily defeat. They had never considered that elite soldiers might board their Shifojun, made a decision that would change everything. Instead of just gathering intelligence and leaving, they would strike at the heart of the alien command structure. They would show Commander Roth and his soldiers what happened when they threatened the wrong species. The SEAL sergeant signaled to his team that they were changing the mission from reconnaissance to direct action. They had found the alien command center and they were going to attack it. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours by 4 soldiers who refused to surrender. Everything went wrong when Corporal Taehyun Park accidentally stepped on some kind of alien sensor while they were moving through a narrow corridor. The device made a high-pitched sound that echoed through the entire ship. Immediately, red lights began flashing and alarms started blaring throughout the vessel. Jun knew their stealth mission had just become a fighting mission. He grabbed his weapon and motioned for his team to take defensive positions. The corridor they were in had good cover, but they could already hear the sound of alien soldiers running toward them from multiple directions. Contact, multiple hostiles approaching from all directions. Minho reported through their communication system. His voice was calm despite the fact that they were about to face an entire alien army with just 4 men and their weapons. The first alien soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor carrying those glowing energy weapons Hojun had seen during the first contact meeting. The aliens were moving fast, but they seemed confused about where exactly the humans were located. The corridor lighting was dim, and the SEALs' black uniforms made them hard to see. Sung Jin Lee took the first shot with his sniper rifle. The bullet hit an alien soldier in the chest, and the creature fell backward with a surprised cry. The alien's armor was strong, but it was not bulletproof, at least not against high-powered human weapons fired at close range. The aliens returned fire with their energy weapons, sending bright purple beams down the corridor. The energy bolts burned holes in the metal walls, but the SEALs had already moved to new positions. They were using tactics they had learned fighting in urban environments, but this was unlike any city they had ever fought in. Hojun realized that the aliens were making tactical mistakes. They were used to fighting enemies who stood in the open and traded shots with them. They did not understand how to fight opponents who moved constantly and used cover effectively. The aliens' superior technology was being defeated by superior tactics. Minho threw one of his explosive charges down a side corridor. Where more alien soldiers were approaching, the explosion was deafening in the enclosed space, and several aliens were thrown to the ground. The others hesitated, giving the SEALs time to advance to better positions. Stay Hyen had been monitoring alien communications through his electronic equipment. He reported that the aliens were calling for reinforcements from all over the ship, but they were having trouble coordinating their response. The human attack had caught them completely by surprise. The battle became a running firefight through corridors and chambers filled with alien technology. The SEALs moved like ghosts, appearing long enough to fire their weapons and then disappearing before the aliens could respond effectively. The aliens had better weapons, but the humans were better soldiers. Sung-jin discovered that the alien energy weapons had a significant weakness. They required several seconds to recharge between shots. This gave the human soldiers crucial windows of opportunity to advance and engage. The aliens had relied on intimidation rather than sustained firepower as they fought their way deeper into the ship. Ho-jun noticed that the quality of alien soldiers was getting worse. The first aliens they had faced seemed well-trained and disciplined, but now they were fighting what appeared to be support personnel who had been pressed into combat roles. This told Ho-jun something important about the alien military structure. They did not have many real soldiers. Most of their crew were technicians and support staff who had never been in actual combat. The aliens had conquered other worlds through fear, not through military skill. Minho used his explosives to destroy key systems throughout the ship. Each explosion caused lights to flicker and strange sounds to come from the walls. The aliens had built their ship to be impressive, but they had not prepared for internal sabotage. The artificial gravity began to fluctuate, making it difficult for the large alien soldiers to move effectively, but the SEALs had trained in zero-gravity environments and they adapted quickly to the changing conditions. This gave them another advantage over their enemies. Stay Hyen managed to hack into more alien systems, causing confusion among the enemy forces. He sent false information through their communication network, making different groups of aliens think the humans were in multiple locations at once. The aliens began shooting at each other in the confusion. Back on Earth, Captain Jinwoo Park and Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee were monitoring the situation from the USS Titan. They could see that more alien ships were emerging from behind the moon and approaching Earth. The aliens were calling for help, but it would take time for reinforcements to arrive. The news from around the world was surprising. Instead of panic and despair, humans everywhere were responding with determination. Factory workers were converting production lines to make weapons. Scientists were analyzing every piece of information about alien technology. Civilian volunteers were organizing to support military operations. The initial shock of first contact was giving way to something the aliens had never seen before on any world they had conquered. Humans were getting angry instead of getting scared. They were preparing to fight instead of preparing to surrender. Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee coordinated with military forces around the globe as reports came in from major cities. The alien ships floating over human cities were maintaining their positions, but they had not started attacking yet. They were waiting for word from Commander Roth. This gave Ho-jun and his team the time they needed to reach their objective. The alien command center was located in the heart of the ship, protected by the heaviest security, but the SEALs had fought through everything the aliens could throw at them. The corridor leading to the command center was filled with alien soldiers in the heaviest armor. Ho-jun had seen these were obviously the elite guards who protected Commander Roth. They were better trained and better equipped than the other aliens, but even the best alien soldiers were unprepared for the kind of warfare that humans excelled at. Minho used his remaining explosives to create a diversion while Sung-jin provided covering fire from a concealed position. Tae-hyen jammed the alien communication systems so the guards could not call for help. Ho-jun led the final assault on the command center using tactics that had been perfected in hundreds of battles on Earth. The aliens fought bravely, but they were fighting the wrong kind of war. They expected their enemies to stand and fight like gentlemen, but humans had learned long ago that survival was more important than honor. The Heavy blast doors protecting the command center were designed to keep out energy weapons and explosions, but they were not designed to keep out determined soldiers who were willing to die for their families. The SEALs found a way through the defenses that the aliens had never considered. As the blast doors opened, Ho-Jin could see Commander Roth standing in front of a huge holographic display showing Earth. The alien commander was surrounded by his remaining officers and guards. All of them looked shocked that humans had actually reached the heart of their ship. The final battle for Earth freedom was about to begin in a chamber filled with alien technology high above the Pacific Ocean. 4 human soldiers faced an alien commander who had conquered dozens of worlds, but Commander Roth was about to learn that humans were different from every other species he had ever met. After Commander Roth and his alien soldiers returned to their massive ship floating above the ocean, the humans on the USS Titan gathered in the command center. The room was filled with tension as military officers from around the world joined the meeting through video screens. Everyone was trying to figure out what to do. Next, Admiral Kim Jae-won was the highest-ranking officer present. He had gray hair and tired eyes from 30 years of military service. He looked around the room at all the worried faces staring back at him. The weight of making decisions for all of humanity was on his shoulders. On the big screens around the room, other military leaders were arguing about different plans. General Williams from the Pentagon wanted to try negotiating with the aliens. He thought maybe they could offer the aliens something less than what they demanded. General Petrov from Russia suggested launching nuclear missiles at the alien ship before they could attack Earth. The French Admiral Dubois believed they should evacuate major cities and prepare for a long war. The Chinese General Liu wanted to study the alien technology first before making any military moves. Everyone had different ideas, but nobody seemed confident that their plan would actually work. President Martinez appeared on the main screen from the White House Situation Room. Her face was pale, and she looked like she had not slept in days. The responsibility of leading America during first contact with hostile aliens was more than any president had ever faced before. We need to be very careful here, she said to everyone in the meeting. These aliens have technology we do not understand. They have ships that can destroy our cities. They might have weapons we cannot even imagine. We should try to find a peaceful solution first. Captain Jenwoo Park listened to all the discussions, but he could see that everyone was afraid. The alien show of force had worked exactly as Commander Roth intended. The sight of those massive ships had made even experienced military leaders think twice about fighting back. Then Sergeant First Class Ho-Jun Kim stepped forward and asked permission to speak. Admiral Kim Jae-won looked surprised. A Navy SEAL sergeant was not normally part of high-level strategy meetings, but these were not normal times. The admiral nodded and told Ho-Jun to share his thoughts. Ho-Jun stood at attention and looked directly at Admiral Kim Jae-won. Sir, with all due respect to the diplomatic options being discussed, I have a different recommendation. He paused and looked around the room at all the worried faces on the screens. These aliens came to our planet and demanded tribute. They want to make slaves out of human beings. They think we will just surrender because they have bigger ships. My professional military assessment is simple, Ho-Jun said in a calm, steady voice. Kill these idiots. The room went completely silent. Everyone stared at the young SEAL sergeant. Some of the officers looked shocked that a lower-ranking soldier would speak so directly. Others looked intrigued by his confidence in the face of impossible odds. Ho-Jun continued speaking. Sir, these aliens made several big tactical mistakes. First, they showed us their technology without learning about ours. Second, they assume we will surrender without a fight. Third, they do not understand what happens when you threaten human families. He gestured to his SEAL teammates who had joined him in the command center. Corporals Min-ho, Choi Sung-jin Lee, and Tae-hyun Park stood behind their sergeant ready to support whatever plan he proposed. Give us permission to board their ship, Ho-Jun said. We will show them what human soldiers can do when someone threatens. Our Home Lieutenant Commander Soo-bin Lee, who had worked with American Special Forces before, stepped forward to support the plan. She knew what SEAL teams could accomplish when everyone else thought a mission was impossible. The aliens studied our governments and our armies, she said, but they never studied our warriors. They do not understand that humans have been fighting against impossible odds for thousands of years. They think superior technology automatically means victory, but they are wrong. General Williams on the Pentagon screen shook his head. This is suicide. These aliens have weapons and armor we have never seen before. They have ships that can destroy cities. How can 4 soldiers possibly make a difference against an entire alien fleet? Ho-Jun looked directly at the camera. Sir, respectfully, the aliens only brought one big ship to Earth. They are using fear and intimidation instead of actual military force. If they really had a huge fleet, they would have brought more ships. They are bluffing. Admiral Kim Jae-won studied the young SEAL sergeant. Ho-Jun had been decorated for valor in 3 different combat zones. He had led successful missions behind enemy lines in some of the most dangerous places on Earth. If anyone could pull off an impossible mission, it would be someone like him. What exactly are you proposing, Sergeant? The Admiral Ho-Jun pulled out a tablet and showed a rough diagram of the alien ship. Sir, we observed their vessel during the first contact meeting. The ship is designed for psychological warfare, not actual combat. It has powerful shields and weapons, but only a small crew. We counted less than 50 aliens on their landing party. He pointed to different parts of his diagram. Their technology is advanced, but it appears centralized. Everything runs through their main computer systems. If we can get inside and disrupt their command structure, we can disable the entire ship. Corporal Min-ho Choi stepped forward. Sir, I specialize in demolitions. If we can reach their power source or main computer, I can disable their ship without destroying it. We could capture their technology instead of just fighting them. Corporal Sung-Jin Lee added, Sir, they move slowly and seem to rely completely on their weapons and armor. They have never fought an enemy that uses stealth and speed instead of direct confrontation. We trained for this kind of mission. The room fell quiet again as everyone considered the SEAL's proposal. It was incredibly dangerous, and the chances of success seemed very small, but it was also the first plan anyone had suggested that involved actually fighting back instead of just hoping the aliens would be reasonable. President Martinez spoke from the White House screen. This is an enormous risk. If you fail, the aliens might retaliate against our cities immediately. Are you willing to take responsibility for that outcome? Ho-Jun looked directly at the camera. Madame President, these aliens are going to attack our cities anyway. If we do not submit to their demands, at least this way, we fight back on our terms instead of just waiting for them to destroy us. Admiral Kim Jae-won made the decision that would change human history forever. He looked at Ho-Jun and his team and nodded slowly. Sergeant, you and your team have permission to attempt this mission. May God help us all. The SEAL team saluted and prepared to leave the command center. They had less than 20 hours before the alien ultimatum expired. They needed to plan their infiltration, study the alien ship, and prepare for a battle unlike anything humans had ever fought before. As they walked toward the door, Ho-Jun turned back to Admiral Kim Jae-won. Sir, when we succeed and disable that alien ship, make sure our response is broadcast to every alien ship in the galaxy. Let them know that humans do not pay tribute to anyone. The young sergeant and his team left the command center to prepare for their mission. The fate of humanity now rested in the hands of 4 elite soldiers who refused to surrender no matter how impossible the odds appeared to be. The morning sun was shining bright over the Pacific Ocean when Captain Jinwoo Park saw something that changed everything forever. The huge alien ship appeared in the sky like a giant black mountain floating above the water. It was so big that it blocked out the sun and cast a dark shadow over the USS Titan aircraft carrier. Jinwoo had been in the Navy for 20 years. He had seen storms that could sink ships. He had been in battles where enemy missiles flew like deadly birds through the air. He had watched his friends die in wars far from home, but nothing in his long military career had prepared him for this moment. The alien ship was completely silent. It did not make any sound as it hung in the air above them. The only noise was the ocean waves hitting the side of the carrier and the worried voices of the sailors on deck. Everyone was looking up at the massive vessel with wide eyes and open mouths. Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee ran up to Jinwoo with a radio in her hand. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. She had been monitoring all the radio channels and the news was not good. Similar ships had appeared over major cities around the world: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. All the big cities had These giant alien vessels floating above them like dark clouds of doom. The aliens were not trying to hide, they wanted everyone to see their ships. They wanted humans to feel small and afraid it was working. Most of the sailors on the carrier were scared. Some were praying, others were calling their families on their phones, trying to say goodbye just in case this was the end of everything. Then something happened that made everyone stop talking. Small ships started coming down from the big alien vessel. They were shaped like teardrops and moved through the air without making any sound. The ships landed on the deck of the aircraft carrier with soft bumps that barely made any noise. The door of the first small ship opened with a hissing sound like air escaping from a tire. White smoke came out, and then the aliens stepped onto the deck of the human ship. The first thing everyone noticed was how big they were. The shortest alien was at least 8 feet tall. The tallest one was almost 10 feet. Their skin was purple like grape juice, and they had 4 arms instead of 2. Their heads were bigger than human heads, and they had multiple eyes that moved independently of each other. They wore shiny silver armor that covered their entire bodies except for their faces. Their weapons looked like long tubes that glowed with blue light. Alien, who seemed to be their leader, stepped forward. He had more decorations on his armor, and the other aliens stayed behind him. He pulled out a small device and attached it to his throat. When he spoke, the device translated his words into English, but his voice sounded like metal grinding against metal. "I am Commander Roth of the Galactic Empire," he said, looking around at all the humans gathered on the deck. "Your planet Earth now belongs to our empire. You must pay tribute to us, or we will destroy your world." Jinwoo felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his face calm. He had been trained to stay cool under pressure, even when things looked impossible. He stepped forward and saluted the alien commander the same way he would salute a human. Officer Commander Roth continued talking as if Jinwoo had not moved. "You will give us half of all your gold and silver. You will give us half of all your food. You will give us half of your people to work as slaves in our empire. You have 24 hours to agree to our demands." The alien commander seemed very confident. He spoke like someone who had done this many times before on many different planets. He acted like resistance was not even possible, like humans would just give up without a fight. This was his first big mistake. What Commander Roth did not know was that among the crowd of sailors listening to his demands was a very special group of soldiers. Navy SEAL Team 6 was on the carrier for training exercises. These were not ordinary sailors. These were some of the most dangerous fighting men on planet Earth. Sergeant First Class Hojin Kim stood in the back of the crowd watching everything with sharp eyes. He was a Korean American who had joined the SEAL years ago. He had fought in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and other places where Americans went to fight bad guys. He was not impressed by the alien commander. Next to Hojin stood his teammates. Corporal Min Ho Choi was an expert in explosives who could blow up a building or disarm a bomb with equal skill. Corporal Seung-Jin Lee was a sniper who could hit a target from over a mile away. Corporal Tae Hyun Park was their communications expert who could hack into enemy computer systems. These men had trained their whole adult lives to fight against impossible odds. They had jumped out of airplanes in the middle of the night. They had swum underwater for miles to reach enemy beaches. They had fought their way through buildings full of armed terrorists. They were not afraid of anyone or anything. Gojun watched as Commander Roth continued his speech about how humans must submit to the Galactic Empire. The alien talked about how his people had conquered hundreds of worlds, how no species had ever successfully resisted them, how Earth would be just another planet in their vast empire. The SEAL Sergeant noticed several important things about the aliens. First, they moved slowly and carefully like they were not used to fighting. Second, their weapons looked powerful but seemed heavy and awkward. Third, they acted like they had never met anyone who might fight back. Fourth, they seemed to think that showing their technology would automatically make humans surrender. Commander Roth finished his speech by saying that Earth had until tomorrow morning to surrender completely. If humans refused to pay tribute, the aliens would start destroying cities one by one until everyone agreed to become slaves. They would start with the biggest cities and work their way down to the smallest towns. The alien commander and his soldiers then walked back to their ships and flew back up to the big vessel. The humans on the carrier were left standing on the deck looking up at the massive ship above them. Most of them felt hopeless and scared. The aliens had better technology, bigger ships, and obviously more experience in warfare, but Ho-Jin Kim was not feeling hopeless. While scared, he was feeling angry. These aliens had come to his planet and threatened his family and his friends. They wanted to make slaves out of human beings. They thought that humans would just give up without a fight. They were about to learn a very important lesson about what happens when you threaten the wrong species as. The other sailors talked nervously among themselves. Ho-Jin gathered his team members together. They moved to a quiet corner of the deck where they could talk without being overheard. The four SEALs looked at each other with grim smiles. They all knew what they were thinking. "We need to get aboard that ship," Ho-Jin said quietly. "We need to show these aliens what happens when they mess with humans." His teammates nodded. In agreement, they had fought against terrorist groups, drug cartels, and enemy armies, but they had never fought against aliens from space. This would be their biggest challenge yet, but they were ready for it. The aliens had made their biggest mistake. When they assumed that superior technology would automatically mean victory, they did not understand human nature. They did not know about the kind of men who volunteered to be Navy SEALs. They were about to get a very painful education. Commander Roth stood in the center of his command chamber, staring at the four human soldiers who had somehow fought their way through his entire ship. The alien commander was over 9 feet tall with purple skin and 4 powerful arms, but for the first time since arriving at Earth, he looked uncertain and possible. He growled through his translation device as Ho-Jin and his team entered the command center. "Your species should have surrendered. Your technology is inferior. Your numbers are insufficient. How did you reach this place?" The command chamber was filled with holographic displays showing Earth from orbit. Commander Roth had been watching human cities waiting for surrender messages that never came. Instead, he had received reports of his soldiers being defeated by a tiny group of human warriors. Ho-Jin kept his weapon trained on the alien commander while his teammates spread out to cover all possible escape routes. The young SEAL sergeant looked directly into Commander Roth. Multiple eyes without showing any fear. "You made a mistake," Ho-Jin said in a calm, steady voice. "You threatened our families. You demanded our freedom. You thought we would just give up because you have bigger ships. You picked the wrong species to mess with." Commander Roth activated his personal energy shield and drew his weapon. The other alien officers in the command center did the same. The chamber filled with the humming sound of charging energy weapons as both sides prepared for the final confrontation. But before the shooting started, Tae-Hyun Park did something that changed everything. He had been quietly working on his portable computer while the others kept the aliens distracted. With a few keystrokes, he accessed the ship's main computer system and sent a signal to every alien vessel in the solar system. The message was simple and direct. "This is humanity. We do not surrender. We do not pay tribute. We fight. Come and face us if you dare." The signal was broadcast on all frequencies in multiple languages, including the alien language that Tae-Hyun had learned to decode. The message reached not only the alien reinforcement ships approaching Earth, but also alien command centers throughout their empire. For the first time in their history, the Galactic Empire received a message of defiance instead of surrender from a conquered world. The aliens had always assumed that superior technology automatically meant victory. They had never faced a species that refused to give up, no matter how impossible the odds appeared. The firefight in the command center was brief but intense. Commander Roth and his officers had powerful energy weapons and personal shields, but they were fighting in an enclosed space against soldiers trained in close quarters combat. Ho-Jin and Minho attacked from opposite sides while Seung-Jin provided covering fire from behind an alien computer console. Tae-Hyun continued working on the ship systems, disabling alien weapons and shields even as energy bolts flew around him. The alien personal shields were strong, but they had the same weakness as their ship weapons. They required energy to maintain, and that energy could be disrupted. Tae-Hyun sent power surges through the ship's electrical system, causing the shields to flicker and fail. Without their technological advantages, the aliens discovered that they were not better fighters than humans. Commander Roth was large and strong, but Ho-Jin was faster and better trained. The alien commander fell to the deck with 3 bullet wounds in his chest. The surviving alien officers surrendered immediately when they realized their commander was defeated. They had never been in a situation where their superior technology had failed them. They did not know how to fight without the advantages they had always relied on. With The alien command structure destroyed and their ship under human control, the entire invasion began to collapse. The other alien ships approaching Earth received new orders broadcast by Taehyun using Commander Roth's own communication codes. Attention. All Galactic Empire vessels, Taehyun transmitted, this planet is under human protection. Any attempt to attack Earth will result in the complete destruction of your forces. We have captured your technology and we know how to use it. The psychological impact of the message was devastating to alien morale. They had come to Earth expecting easy conquest, but instead they found determined resistance and tactical defeat. The species they had dismissed as primitive had captured their most advanced warship back on Earth. The news of the SEAL's success spread rapidly around the globe. Human military forces that had been preparing for desperate defensive battles suddenly found themselves in a position of strength. The captured alien ship provided access to advanced technology and intelligence. Captain Jin-Woo Park and Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee coordinated the human response as alien reinforcement ships arrived in Earth orbit. The aliens expected to find a conquered world ready for harvesting. Instead, they found a unified planet prepared for war. The aliens had made a critical error in their understanding of human psychology. They assumed that showing superior technology would automatically result in submission. They did not understand that humans had a long history of fighting against impossible odds and finding ways to win. Human scientists began analyzing the captured alien technology. While military forces prepared defensive positions around major cities, but the aliens were no longer in a position to attack Earth. Their command ship was under human control and their entire invasion plan had collapsed. The alien reinforcement fleet found themselves in an impossible situation. They could not attack Earth without risking the lives of their command crew, who were now prisoners. The humans had turned the aliens' own tactics against them, using superior strategy to defeat superior technology. Jun and his team had done more than just capture an alien ship. They had proven that humans could not be conquered by intimidation alone. The message sent to the Galactic Empire would be remembered for generations. Any species that threatened Earth would face determined resistance. The tide of the conflict had turned completely. The aliens who had arrived expecting easy tribute were now faced with a species that refused to surrender. The humans had shown that advanced technology was not enough to guarantee victory against determined warriors. As news of the victory spread around Earth, human morale soared. People who had been terrified of alien conquest now felt pride in their species' ability to fight back. The unity that had developed during the crisis remained strong as humans prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The aliens would have to choose between retreating and facing a prolonged war against an enemy that had already proven capable of defeating their best efforts. The Galactic Empire was about to learn that some species could not be conquered no matter how advanced the technology used against them. The 4 Navy SEALs who had started this mission to gather intelligence had ended up changing the course of human history. Their refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds had saved not only Earth, but had also sent a message throughout the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. 3 weeks after the battle aboard Commander Roth's ship, the alien reinforcement fleet finally made their decision. They would withdraw from human space and report back to the Galactic Empire that Earth was not suitable for conquest. The cost of fighting humans was too high for the potential rewards. Admiral Kim Jae-won stood on the deck of the USS Titan, watching as the last alien ships disappeared into the darkness of space. The massive vessels that had once seemed so threatening now looked like they were running away from a fight they could not win. Ho-jun Kim and his surviving team members had become heroes not just on Earth but throughout the galaxy. As word spread of humanity's successful resistance, Taehyun Park had been promoted twice and was now leading a new military unit dedicated to understanding alien technology. The loss of Corporal Dong-woo Yoon during the ship battle had been painful for the entire team, but his sacrifice had not been in vain. The intelligence he had helped gather was being used to prepare Earth defenses against future alien threats. Min Ho Choi was working with human scientists to reverse engineer alien weapons and defensive systems. His expertise with explosives had evolved into understanding alien energy systems. Sung Jin Lee had been assigned to train other snipers in fighting alien soldiers. The captured alien ship had been moved to a secret facility, where human engineers were learning to operate systems far more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced. The artificial gravity generators alone represented a technological leap of centuries, but the most important change was not in technology but in human unity. The threat of alien conquest had brought together nations that had been enemies for decades. The United Nations had been reformed into the United Earth Defense Force with real authority to protect the planet. Captain Jinwoo Park had been promoted to admiral and put in charge of Earth's first space defense fleet. The ships were still being built using a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology, but they would be ready if the aliens ever returned. Lieutenant Commander Subin Lee was now coordinating intelligence gathering about other alien species in the galaxy. The captured alien computers contained information about hundreds of different worlds and civilizations. Most had surrendered without fighting, but some had resisted. The galaxy was much larger and more dangerous than humans had ever imagined. The Galactic Empire controlled thousands of worlds and had been expanding for centuries, but they had never encountered a species quite like humanity. The aliens had sent diplomatic messages to Earth trying to negotiate some kind of agreement. They offered to trade technology for resources or to establish peaceful relations, but the human response was always the same. Earth was not interested in any relationship with slaver. Shojun had been promoted to major and was now leading a new special operations unit called the Galactic Response Team. His mission was to train other soldiers to fight against alien threats and to be ready for deployment anywhere in the solar system. The psychological impact of humanity's victory had spread far beyond Earth. The Galactic Empire was facing rebellion on several worlds, where local populations had heard about the human resistance. Other species were beginning to believe that the Empire could be defeated. Earth scientists had discovered that the galaxy was full of species that had been conquered and enslaved by the Empire. Many of them had advanced technology, but they lacked the fighting spirit that had made human resistance successful. The human government began receiving secret communications from alien resistance groups asking for help and advice on how to fight back against the Empire. Earth was becoming a symbol of hope for oppressed species throughout the galaxy. Major Hojin Kim was chosen to lead the first human diplomatic mission to contact these resistance groups. The mission would be incredibly dangerous, but it offered the possibility of building alliances against the Galactic Empire. The alien technology captured from Commander Roth's ship had given humans capabilities they had never dreamed of. Faster than light travel, energy weapons, defensive shields, and advanced computers were all being integrated into human civilization, but humans had also given the galaxy something equally valuable. They had proven that advanced technology could be defeated by determination, courage, and tactical skill. The Empire had relied on fear and intimidation for so long that they had forgotten how to actually fight. The news media on Earth was full of stories about the SEAL team that had saved humanity. Hojun and his teammates tried to avoid the attention, but their actions had inspired a new generation of young people to join the military. Earth military academies began teaching courses in alien warfare and off-world operations. The curriculum included everything from fighting in zero gravity to understanding alien psychology. Human soldiers were being prepared for conflicts that might happen anywhere in the galaxy. The economic impact of the alien contact was enormous. New industries were created almost overnight to develop and produce alien-derived technology. Earth was becoming a technological powerhouse that could compete with civilizations thousands of years older. But the most important change was in human confidence. The species that had once looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone now knew they were part of a vast galactic community, and they had proven they could hold their own in that community. 5 years after first contact, Earth launched its first interstellar warship. The vessel was crewed entirely by humans, but it used technology that was a hybrid of human engineering and alien science. The ship was named the USS Hojin Kim in honor of the SEAL who had started it all. The galaxy was no longer a place where the strong automatically dominated the weak. Earth had shown that courage and determination could overcome any technological advantage the Galactic Empire would have to find. new ways to maintain control over their territory as Major Ho-Jun Kim prepared for his first mission beyond the solar system. He thought about how much had changed since that morning when alien ships first appeared over Earth to scared sailors. On the aircraft carrier had become confident space warriors the aliens had come to, Earth expecting easy conquest and tribute. Instead they had awakened a species that refused to surrender. The humans they had dismissed as primitive had proven to be the most dangerous opponents the Empire had ever faced. The message that had been broadcast to the galaxy during the battle was still being received by alien civilizations throughout the Empire. This is humanity. We do not surrender. We do not pay tribute. We fight. That message had become the rallying cry for resistance movements on dozens of worlds. The Galactic Empire was discovering that their greatest mistake had been threatening a species that would never give up, no matter how impossible. The odds appeared to be. The future was uncertain and full of dangers, but humanity faced it with confidence. They had learned that they were not alone in the universe, and they had proven that they belonged among the stars. The age of human space exploration and galactic influence was just beginning.